Hi everyone, welcome to It's Your Money. I'm Joanne Morgano and I'm joined by my co-host Martin Salzman. We are both financial advisors and have over 52 years of experience working with our clients in financial planning and overall wealth management. Today we've got another great topic for you, and it's on website design and marketing. But first, Martin and I will do our usual routine about what's going on in the markets.
Routine, yeah.
It's a
and
routine.
Good to be with you, Joanne, again. Market volatility remains very high. We all know the issues. We have inflation that's still out there. Oil prices had gone down to $65 a barrel, then they crested up over 83 once the Russians and Saudis said they were going to cut production. Now we're back under 80. We're sitting around $76 a barrel, still elevated, of course. We still pay for it at the pump. But more than that, prices at the grocery store are high. Why? Because they're transported in terms of oil and things like that. So oil seems to be the thing. Even though we talk EV left and right now, we're still living with energy that's oil and gas. So beside that, though, we do have some issues out there. We have the Federal Reserve will be meeting next week. I think it's in the cards that they're going to raise rates at least a quarter point.
I agree, and we have been talking to you about interest rate rises, and I just wanted to kind of alert you on something that's happening because of interest rates, is that lump sum pension payouts are reducing. So when you go to look at that critical statement and you're about to make that decision, it's important for you to understand that rising interest rates have an effect on this, the way the present value is calculated on the actual asset. And it's an economic principle called short discount cash flow, and that's what's involved with these numbers. So they are going down. Clients are calling me and asking, what happened from last year? And this is part of the reason.
And bottom line, speak with your financial advisor. Joanne brings up a great point, and that's one of the problems with a rising interest rate environment, amongst other things, like enabling people to be able to buy a home and that. And despite the rising interest rates and the Federal Reserve raising those rates, the 10-year Treasury has been going down. It's almost counterintuitive. That usually portends a slowing economy. So we have to be cognizant of these things. The Federal Reserve's trying to put the brakes on inflation, but at the same time, they're also hurting the economic situation out there, so be aware. And lastly, before we get to our guests, the Biden administration was proposing, almost charging those that have mortgages over $400,000 a fee, or I would call it a tax, to lower the fees of those that are subprime borrowers. I think we've been kind of down this road where we're helping borrowers that may not have the best credit. And then what happens is they can't pay their mortgage, they lose a job, and the next thing you know, they're walking away from homes. So I really don't think it's fair that we penalize those that might have good credit, even though they have a higher mortgage. That's on them. I mean, that's what the United States has been based on, hard work, capitalism, and that. But once we have to start compensating for those that may not qualify as good or don't have as good a credit score,
yeah, I agree, Martin.
It's not the best,
No,
Anything else you want to add today?
No, I think I'm ready for
That was
our
a good point, though.
About the pension pay.
I'm ready for our
Lump
guests.
sums.
We have great guests here
Okay.
today, and they happen to be friends, which makes it even better. We have with us here today Keith and Debra Rizzi. They own Rizco, and they're a website design, brand-led marketing company based up in Wall. Wall is Monmouth County, right? So, but they service customers throughout the state, and I believe even out of the state. So, why don't I defer to you and welcome our guests to the set. Welcome aboard, guys. Glad to have you. And Deb was here once before, so we got Deb back.
Deb was here once before, and she brought her husband, and so it's a unique husband and wife team. I certainly could not work with my husband, so I'm in awe of the
Just
two
putting
of
that
you.
out there.
Just putting it out there. And he doesn't really watch my show that much, so he won't even. But tell us a little bit how you got started with Rizco.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us back.
welcome. Thank you for
such
Great to have you guys.
Such a joy being here, and as said, typically my better half is with me here today.
Being
So
politically
sweet.
correct.
Being politically correct. So it is a unique situation. Keith and I worked for a large agency in New York called Porter Novelli, and that is where we met. And actually through family tragedy, we were both pulled from there to help support a family business, and Rizco was born. So here we are 23 years later, recently as a certified women-owned business, which was big for us this year. For me particularly, I'm in the strategy side, but Keith will add some more as he gets to do the exciting part of bringing the visual and emotional side to the business.
Yeah, as creative director, I get to work with and lead the design team, which is a lot of fun. We get to be very creative, and as well as I'm still designing for many of our clients.
So you
it's a lot
both
of
met
fun.
in New York,
Yes.
worked for the same firm,
Yes.
got married, moved out to New Jersey, and you did the American dream and started your own business. Right?
And he's still with me somehow.
Well, you guys
And you're
must be
still
doing
with him.
something right.
So
Yep.
we balance that out.
Yes, we do.
So listen, very important for our viewers. A website is a huge representation for all businesses. How is a website put together? How is it, vital to a company's brand and that? Can you just expand
It's
on
a great question. Even before we jump into that, I love to have some kind of stat for people to grasp.
Okay.
Is a website important or not? And Sightify had some really interesting stats in February that every minute 175 websites are born. And on an annual basis, 252,000 websites worldwide are developed. So if that is enough to create a statement for how vital they are in our businesses, and the truth is that it's credibility and it's your 24/7 outlook. Somebody can find you, do research on you, see if you're the right product or service. But from a marketing standpoint, you see that it really is the hub. You have your tactical items such as today's event, this network, you're going to get footage from this. Are you going to email it out to somebody? If you do, you want them going back to the website. Put up a blog post. If you're handling social media, you're driving them back to the website. So the web is not only that front visual selling statement, but it's an analytical tool on the backside. So it truly is like the nervous system of a marketing campaign. So it's important to have it be solid and make sure that any of those tactical things that you're doing in the marketplace are feeding into that website.
So is it fair to say then that you would tend to meet with the client and that Keith would be on that design side to translate what you're getting from the client? Is that fair?
It's actually both of us, and as far as process is concerned, Keith, you would definitely, he spearheads a lot of that, so he's got some great insight on that.
Yeah, so for web, typically the best questions to ask in the very beginning when you're meeting with a client is, what is the purpose of the website or the brand that you're speaking about? You're a sports fan, so maybe the company is selling sports products on their website. Maybe it's an educational site. Maybe you're developing an online magazine. All of these questions that you start to ask in the very beginning when you're meeting the client help to sort of frame the project and how you would potentially approach it.
Fair.
So with website marketing, are you able to tell who comes onto your website, how many times? How do all those data points work for companies?
So it's a combination. Of course, the basic is typically you have Google Analytics that is built into the back end of the site.
Okay.
That's for a traditional site, or if you actually have an e-commerce site, something like Shopify is giving you all of those analytics automatically via an app. But both of those are giving you those touch points of where is the entry point, where is somebody going, how long are they spending on the site, to give you that understanding of what's working and not working, so that you know where you need to improve and make adjustments in your marketing campaign.
So talk to me a little bit more about SEO, search engine optimization.
So
what is that?
We can talk about that. What is the biggest question that you usually get around SEO?
What is it, and how can it help me, grow with my company?
So SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. And it's a tool that you use as a basis for your website to look at it from multiple different ways.
Okay.
One would be from looking at your content for your website and making sure that you're writing that content in a very specific way to target the audience that you're trying to pull in. So making sure that you're including very specific keywords within your content to help, again, drive those analytics or those touch points or data points that you were speaking about.
So, for example, if I wanted to search for business-owned women marketing organizations, would that be a way to find your company? Like,
Yeah, that could potentially be a key phrase or
Okay.
multiple keywords
and
that
that's
you
really what
utilize.
you're talking about, like the keywords.
The
Yes.
keywords, yep. So that becomes part of your strategy. And like Keith was saying, okay, what are you trying to achieve? So that is where the research process comes into play of talking to the customer. What is it that you're trying to achieve? Who's that demographic that you're trying to reach? And then you're doing keyword research to work backwards into what are those phrases that they might be looking for. And if you don't know, a lot of times we recommend, and usually from Rizzi's standpoint, we're doing this legwork on behalf of the client, is asking that question, who are your key competitors? And we look at their sites and then we funnel into the back end of their sites to see what are the keywords that they're ranking for, and maybe we're gonna bid on some of the same words, or even actually our own names. So their names and
So if I could just back up a little bit for our viewers' sake and for small business owners' sake, how does one kickstart, the whole process? Why should somebody use, let's say, an agency like yours, whether it be bigger or smaller? Because we have a lot of small businesses that are listening, a lot of entrepreneurs, and they just need to know that. And we'll start talking about more of the analytics and the dynamics.
So sometimes it comes down to budget, but from an agency perspective, websites are time consuming and they're very personal. So sometimes a business will come in and say, hey, can you do a website for us in 3 months? And we can do that. But typically between the content and the processes, it winds up getting elongated a lot more. On average, for a basic 20-page site, we're spending anywhere from 175 to 200 hours on that site between strategy, content, and development. So it gets broken down into 2 different areas of brand, of understanding what's the content, what's the story, and developing that site map. That site map is like your blueprint of what needs to be included. And then there's the technical side, which I know that you would want to build upon.
But we're going to have to hold for one quick second. We're going to have to go to a commercial
Goes
break.
quick.
Yes, it does.
We'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Bob Hochgertle from Kings Road Brewing Company. I'm here to tell you about a brand new show on RVN television called Cooking with the King. Each week, we're going to taste and sample some of the best beers the Kings Road Brewing Company has to offer. And we're going to talk to area chefs and restaurant owners as we pair our beer with their signature dishes. We're going to teach you how to cook and eat like a king. Cheers.
A stroke can be easy to detect. A loved one can't speak, perhaps they can't move. But there's another sign of a stroke that many of us can't see. It's called spatial neglect, and it can occur during or after a stroke, causing distorted visual movements. Fortunately, there's a solution by using optical prism technology during rehabilitation. If you or a loved one have experienced a stroke, ask your doctor about spatial neglect. Spatial neglect. See the whole picture at kesslerfoundation.org.
Are you burned out, disenfranchised, disengaged, extremely distracted? Do you feel that you're lost in semantics, over-leveraged, overwhelmed? My name is Lisa Fratelli, and I have a show on RVN TV, always streaming. The name of the show is The Neuroscience of Wealth and Well-Being. The intention of this show is to explain how you can get back to homeostasis, flow states, creativity. It's highly correlated with happiness and well-being. so you can get out of overwhelm, get out of burnout, not feel distracted, and get back to your life. You will hear from experts who will get you back on track so you can enjoy your life again. RVN TV, we're always streaming.
Welcome back to It's Your Money. We're here with Debra Rizzi and Keith Rizzi of Rizco Company, and we're talking about website development and working with a professional agency like Rizco or doing it on your own. So Keith, we had to interrupt you, but let's pick up from where we left.
Sounds good. So there are lots of technical aspects of creating a website.
Right.
Hosting your site, DNS records, which is where your domain exists. Typically that's with Network Solutions or GoDaddy. I'm sure you've all heard of both of those companies. There's also compliance when building out your site, talking about ADA compliance for people who may be hearing impaired or can't see. They have specific things built into their computers that allow them to do searches and visit websites just like we all do.
As far as what building platforms, like which platforms do customers usually want their sites to be built on?
So at Rizco, we typically use two platforms, WordPress as well as Shopify. Each one of those has its own unique aspects, and so you, from the beginning of the project, you would decide which avenue you may go. Shopify is very specific; it's an e-commerce platform, so typically you're selling an actual product versus WordPress. And then for the person who is maybe wanting to do it on their own, typically a Wix or Squarespace would be a great option for someone that would want to take up the project and do it yourself.
How does, let's talk about this. How does Rizco help clients with the content itself? Developing the content, making sure the content is really germane to what you're trying to do and trying to attract customers. At the end of the day, you want customers to look at your website, pick up the phone and call you or email you.
Yes.
How do you guys help with that?
Content is key, and it definitely is that one item that sometimes paralyzes the projects, and the client knows what they want to say, and they can't get there potentially, but that is where Rizco comes in as especially that marketing arm and with the brand expertise. And I touched on this earlier, is looking at the competition. It's creating the brand voice. What are the brand pillars? What are the differentiators that need to be conveyed through this site, and developing that story. So once you have that foundation in place, the rest of it falls into place rather easily. And also there's the tried and true method of being able to write it, but then actually proofing it on behalf of the customer and making sure that it's ironclad before it goes live.
Okay.
So with clients, I'm sure your consultative abilities help a lot, because I'm sure clients don't always know what they actually want. So I think that's a unique aspect of working with an organization like yours. How do you direct clients to do that?
So it comes down to transparency and trust, because we've been there. It's 23 years of experience. And also too, you're getting many of the questions that are coming from a business owner. It's a time investment and it's a cost investment. Do I need to be doing this right now? Especially with the economy going up and down and being unsure. So it's that open discussion of making sure, do we know what we need to achieve? And then also from a price point standpoint, get 3 quotes, look at 3 different people who feels the right fit, but then ask for a retainer or a payment plan so that you're spreading that out over a 6 to 10 month period, because a lot of times that's what it takes.
In the past, when we were talking about content, I brought up the notion of a landing page, and I think you even said, well, how'd you know that? Well, I know it because of my daughter. But I know that when people first click on a website, that becomes vital, right? The landing page, that it be attractive, that they can get an answer right then and there, right? Can you just comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, from a design perspective, you're always thinking about, what is the main purpose of this page that your users are coming to, and what is the main message that you want them to get. And then on top of that, working CTAs, or what we call to actions, into the site, so that the person understands, like, you want them to call your business and make that phone call and reach out to you. So understanding what those CTAs should be is certainly key to preparing and developing the right site or landing page for your client.
And if I can build upon that even more, when I was talking about nervous system earlier, so if somebody does go to that landing page and they fill out a form, we have the capability now that the website winds up activating a whole other automation. So you hear about CRMs like HubSpot, Salesforce that are very robust. So the website is that landing spot. Once it captures the information, it puts it directly into the CRM, and a lot of times in the marketing, it's activating an automated process of maybe a drip email campaign. So those landing pages and the site itself, it is a yin and yang of it comes in and then it's going back out again to try to cycle a customer
I
through.
love your analogy of a website as a central nervous system. I mean, it really just kind of puts it all in place in our heads.
Yeah.
So how does the website work with social media? And how do they work hand in hand to help with build the whole overall marketing ecosystem?
So they are very important in sharing information, and it's an extension. Social media is beautiful in the sense that you actually get to have a conversation with your customer as well. And that comes in two parts. You have your organic posts that you're putting up, but then also you're doing paid advertising. So the combination of both of those, it's important to remember that those CTAs, the call to actions that Keith was just talking about, are leading you back to the website. And then once you're on the website, a lot of times in a blog, you will see those same CTAs where it's share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram. So you're seeing the two of them feed off of each other very poignantly. And with social, one of the common mistakes is that we'll do a standard post, but we will forget to put that link in that drives somebody back to the website. As leaders in our industry, we do this very often where we come across an article that we think is great and we should share it, but we send it to the originator's website. Whereas what we should do is do a few sentences on what you got out of that article that made it so great, post it on your blog. And so you go social to blog, then back to the exterior site.
So listen, guys, we're already being signaled that our time is up. I can't even believe it. We have to have
a
you back
marathon.
again. It's like there's so much to talk
There
about.
is.
And you guys did a really great job of really kind of giving our viewers the nuts and bolts. I can tell you this, though. You got to use somebody like you. Even if they don't use you guys, you got to use a professional.
There's so much to it.
It's too much. It's too much. My tongue's hanging out just
And
listening.
you'll fall behind your competitor if you don't do that. So you want to be ahead.
Be ahead.
Now listen, for those viewers that want to go a step further and you want to understand about the costs involved and particular things about your own business or website, you can call Keith or you could call Debra. So can you give us a contact phone number or website?
Yeah, so of course, website. We're talking about websites, so why shouldn't we give you our
There
web
you go.
address? So you can reach us at rizco, rizco.com, or if you need to email us, it's easy to do that at info@rizco.com.
And a phone number quick.
732-691-08.
We still have old-fashioned, people that
know.
want to pick up the landline.
We are accessible.
So listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And we'll see you next time on It's Your Money. Great job today.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you.